Good open week, we think, pretty productive. Practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. About an hour and a half workouts Tuesday and Wednesday with about 20 minutes of it on Iowa State. About the same last night. We extended it and worked about 10 or 15 minutes on a couple different things they're doing from a special team standpoint last night as well. Recruited Thursday and Friday, and really took a hard look last week at academics and stuff. And so, all in all, pretty good week. Austin Vaughn did get hurt in the Florida State game, so I would say he's questionable this week. Cameron Darling's out. He got hurt. He hasn't returned. Jabari Johnson's still out. Tyne, I would give questionable. He's moved around a little bit the last days or whatever. We'll try to incorporate him in a little bit of good on good stuff tomorrow and see how he reacts to that. I would give probable to Sam Miller because he's back. Went through practice last night and I thought looked pretty good. And Brandon Jones is another one that got hurt in the Florida State game. We sat out last week, but he practiced last night and I thought he looked pretty good. So anyway, I think that's about all I can on the injury front. So, but all in all, pretty productive week. Really good opportunity for us at Iowa State. Really tough opportunity for us at Iowa State. 1-1 on the season. You look at their season right now. I mean, the two games they've played have just been unbelievably close, and literally down to the wire in both of them. And they've both been against their rivals, so to speak. And in Northern Iowa and Iowa, and beating Northern Iowa in overtime, and then losing 18-17 to Iowa. 2 weather delays. Actually, a 6-hour game when you look at the game, but. Both of them have been really good games. Both of their games have been at home, so this will be their 3rd straight at home. And I think one of the things, too, that's really interesting, we've kind of done our research on them and talked to a few people, whatever, and they say the stadium is as loud as any they've been in, and 61,000. But I mean, the people that we've talked to say it's unbelievably loud in the stadium. So, and they did a nice job of last year of pretty much selling out every game, so that's going to be interesting as well. Really impressed with what they're doing, with what Coach Campbell has done there. And, of course, you look at his record and what he did at Toledo and then going to Iowa State. This is his 4th year, and twice already he's been Big 12 Coach of the Year. So he's done a really good job. You look at his resume, and it's really impressive. I mean, started as a head coach in 2011 and won a couple Coach of the Year, turned Toledo, went to Iowa State, won a couple Coach of the Year, and you look up, he's 39 years old. So really, really impressive what he's done. But I'm impressed with their football team. We all are as a staff. When you look at really both sides of the ball and what they do offensively, they're set up, and when you see them, they're going to be pretty similar to us. In a sense, I would say 11 personnel is their base. They're going to run some 12. They'll run some 10 in terms of what they're doing. But I think it's pretty similar to what we're doing. Really been impressed with Purdy, with their quarterback. I think he's a really good football player, can run and throw. They've been kind of tailed back by committee with 3 and 4 this year when you look at them. And then receiver-wise, too, we didn't know really going into the season because we broke down all their games last year going in. But number 1, Milton, has kind of emerged as their guy. 8 catches for 144 yards last week against Iowa. And then Petway, the bigger guy, number 7, had 5 catches for 83 yards. Like I said, we didn't really know. If you look at their tape last year, they had 2, in my opinion, 2 of the better players at their position in the country last year. Montgomery was the starting running back, got drafted in the 3rd round, I think, by the Bears. And then Akeem Butler, a young man that we knew that we tried to recruit at McNeese. He's from Fort Bend Travis, right outside of Houston. And I think he went somewhere in there too, but he went to, I believe, Arizona. But you look at those 2 guys last year, and they were a big part of what they were doing. And so, we think some guys have emerged this year. Typical O-line and tight ends, what I would consider typical if you're going to play a Midwest team, whatever. I mean, big. And, they have the 6'6", 6'7" tight ends as well. Defensively, I guess the word I would use is probably multiple 3-4, and because they're going to do a lot of things out of it. I've never quite seen in my years of coaching some of the things they do and how they do it from their 3-4. But we knew we thought we did anyway a little bit about Coach Heacock coming in, and He was actually the head coach at Youngstown when we played him when I was at McNeese, and really good football coach. You look at him, I think it kind of starts with 12, number 12, Osworth. He kind of, I think, exemplifies what they are and who they are on defense. When you look at it, he's 6 foot 205, and he had 15 tackles last week, so they're going to move him around. He's what they call their star guy. He'll be down, he's everywhere, really lining up. Their nose guard, we're concerned about. Really, 58, 92 are big guys. And then number 3 is, which I didn't know that until listening to the game the other day, he's actually 1 sack from their all-time sack lead at Iowa State. But based off what they do and what you see is, they're gap eaters and feeders and kind of what they do, and everything kind of makes sense when you break it down. But if you take the star, which is Osworth, which is really, kind of starts as their weak safety, then you take number 1, their free safety, and the 3 linebackers, 15 tackles by the star last week against Iowa, 11 by the free safety, 8 by one linebacker, 8 by the other backer, 6 by the other backer. So it's 52 of their total 80 plays. Tackles are by those 5 guys, and so everything kind of spits to them in terms of what they're trying to do defensively. But I think play is good at team defense. If you just want to watch a tape and admire the way people play the game, and I mean, they play as good a team defense as anybody that we've played, that I've seen, in the sense that, they run to the football, and we always talk about running to the ball and rallying or whatever, and I'm telling you, they play like their hair's on fire every play. When you watch them play defensively, really, really impressive. So, love this football team. I think we do as a staff too. When you watch them, I was telling our players yesterday, play the game the way it's supposed to be played. They block, they tackle, and in most cases, they have a couple times at the beginning of the year this year, they don't beat themselves, and tough to beat, no question, and they have been, and they have been certainly at home in their home stadium. So, but it's a good opportunity for us, and it's also an opportunity, I think, too, to go somewhere different and to do something different. It's, I don't know, it didn't happen much my previous job, maybe one time, and I think it's happened one time here, but you get the 11 o'clock kickoff, which is different. You get the 11 o'clock kickoff, 45 minutes away from the stadium, which, it's kind of interesting. Really, I don't know. I started to say last week, but it was really the week before, making schedules and making stuff, and when you count back time and how long it takes to get there and eat and all that, and then you come up with 6:30 wake-up call. That's a little different in terms of most of the games that we played. But I started talking to the players about it yesterday and getting them to understand that, and I think it's a good thing, by the way. I'm certainly not complaining about that. I think it's a good thing and something different, something for the players to go through, and and it's just something that, too, if we were ever fortunate enough, it may happen in postseason. You may get that time slot. You may get something like that. So I think things like that are good in terms of doing something different, and we'll see how we react to that. But again, just a good opportunity for us. Like I said, I really like this football team. I really think it's a tough challenge to go in there and play these guys, but it's also exciting too, because I think they do it the right way.
Coach, can you elaborate more on their front seven? Because from what I've seen the last couple of games, people are really raving about that. What makes them so special up front?
They do what they do, and they keep doing it when you look at it. But I think everybody, when you watch them, everybody understands what they're supposed to be doing. Those big guys up front, if they're supposed to play 2 gaps, they play 2 gaps. If they're supposed to get in that gap, they get in that gap. They're getting whatever gap. And then those guys, the guys, the 3 backers, and really the 2 safeties, if you look at it, they're safety / linebackers, because they do such a nice job of reading what you're doing, and they know exactly where they fit coming in there. And they're playing some of the I don't even know what to call it, like a monster defense. I think the first time I ever saw it was I saw Rocky Long coach it at a football clinic, and they did it with Brian Urlacher, where you're actually in an odd defense and the linebackers are 5 yards and they have a guy directly over the ball about 7 or 8 yards, and that's 12. And I don't care what blocking scheme you draw up, you're not going to block him, because they're in an odd front, and he's kind of that monster, just kind of going wherever, and then so they have some good schemes. They'll also play a bear front, and they'll add him to a bear front. Well, you're not going to block him, and we were going through some of the looks yesterday in the scout team safety that we had playing that position, because it's a different look, so we've been looking at it a lot. Now, they don't play it every down, but I was picking on our scout team safety. I said, you see why you got 15 tackles this week? Because, he could have, he's standing there on almost every tackle. But, so there's some different things that they're doing. But to answer your question, I think when you look at their front seven, of course, most of them are all back, too. So they've been playing a while. I think, 8 back, I think, John, on defense. The guys play a lot of football. You look at what they're doing, so they're experienced. But I just like the way they play. They run to the football. I mean, it's one misses you, they got help coming quick. And I think that's the key to their defense is that experience and understanding what to do and the level of intensity they play with. And I think is really impressive.
Now, you've been in these situations before since you've been here with this team, and you're going to go on the road and play a Power Five opponent after they've come home some form of loss in a big game or a rivalry
Well, I was
game.
pulling for them too.
Wouldn't it be nice to catch one of these guys after a win once?
Yeah, it would, no doubt. But it's just kind of the hand we were dealt, and I don't know if it makes any difference, to be honest with you. I don't know why, but I was pulling for him. But big Kurt Ferentz fan too, so I don't know why I was pulling for him. Just maybe we could go in there, but we got to do what we do, and there's not really a lot going to change. And I think you and I talked about it last week, Adam, and I echoed exactly what I told the team on Friday night before Florida State. If we got to play harder than them, we have to make less mistakes than them. If we do that, we're gonna have an opportunity to win the game, and I thought we did. I thought we played harder. I thought we made less mistakes. It's pretty much the same. When you go in there against a team, you have the crowd against you, you have whatever against you, and you have got to go in there and, you have to make less mistakes than them, and you have to play at least as hard as they do. Those two factors, and then you throw in a kicking game. You got to push the kicking game. You have to go in and in my opinion, which we didn't do that in Florida State, by the way, and that's something we weren't real pumped with our players about. But you have to push the kicking game. You can't do silly things and with the kicking game. So I think that at least has to be a push. And then you got to go in there and, if they play harder than you and they make less mistakes than you have no chance. You have no chance. But if we can do that, like we did over there, then, we want to get this thing in the second half with a chance to win. And we did over there. So that's always the goal and what I tell the players. If we do that, let's get this thing to the second half. Now all of a sudden the crowd kind of, becomes more of a pressure deal than a excitement deal. And to me, that's the formula, but easier said than done. So what Northern Iowa did, got the game in the second half, and you look at the game, and Iowa State had almost outgained them 2-1, but you look at it, and I don't care what happened, and you get in the third quarter and then the beginning of the fourth quarter, and you're right in there. That's the goal, and like I said, but against this ball club and that place, it's that's harder than just saying it, but hopefully we can do it again.
Is this, you mentioned the Midwestern teams, does this remind you of that Nebraska matchup at all from a few years back?
Yes and no, but their football team reminds me more of, when I watch them, and I've spent all summer watching them, reminds me more of Montana, South Dakota State, more of those types of football teams and how they play. And, they, like I said, they block, they tackle. They can do that now, and they do what they do, and and that's what I was kind of thinking watching them play, and the tall linemen, when you look at it, 6'6", 6'5", 6'7", tight end, that's what I think of more when I think of the teams that I went up against. The Nebraska team had kind of changed, and stuff with Armstrong and the whole deal, and they were more of like a run and shoot type deal and no huddle and hurry and doing all those types of things. These teams here, I don't think necessarily the issue is going to be what they do. It's going to be, come get you some. It's kind of their attitude, and that reminds me more of the Montana in the heyday and when I was at the other place, that run there with the Jackrabbits with South Dakota State. I mean, you knew exactly where they were going to be, exactly play, but on the stuff. But they just executed at such a high level and played at such a high level that I think this team reminds me more of those two.
So Kerry Stark's back this week.
He is. He's back practicing, and for right now he is.
So will he play then Saturday?
For right now he will. Yeah. As long as he continues to do what he's doing. Well,
Anything else for Coach?
thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.